Hi, I'm Quincas and I'm a synth DIY guy. Today we're reviewing the amazing Erica Synths Bassline module. It's a complete synth voice with an AS3340 VCO providing saw, square and triangle waves, a sub-oscillator that gives you a square wave an octave below, a voltage-controlled filter with a dedicated decay envelope generator, as well as a switch to select between low-pass and bandpass modes, a drive circuit for distorted tones, and a VCA also with its own dedicated decay envelope generator. It has an FM input with an attenuator, a VCF FM input that gets mixed with the internal EG, both controllable with a pot for VCF FM amount, and dedicated outputs for the square and triangle waves, as well as an accent input that boosts the VCA and the VCF levels when sent to trigger. It is very similar to the non-DIY version, except that while the factory version has a detune system, the DIY one we're reviewing has the drive circuit instead. This module is a complete beast and sounds like it. The kit comes complete with a super nice black panel, 2 chunky PCBs, and all of the hardware and electronic components needed to complete the build. And look, once again I have the honor of building serial number 1. According to Erica Synths, this is their most advanced DIY project, and definitely not recommended for beginners. If you have some experience and are a careful builder though, you should have no problem with the construction. Since the main PCB has all of its resistors standing up in TP fashion, we won't start with them this time. Instead, place all of the flat, low-profile components first, such as diodes, trim pots, and IC sockets. I was missing a socket, so I just soldered my LM13700 straight to the board. You should have all the sockets though, mine was a beta kit. The special tin can ICs are kind of difficult to install. It helps to use your fingernails to spread the legs out, forming a circle, before carefully pushing each terminal through its respective hole. Be sure to match the position indicated on the silk screen. Not much solder is needed to secure and connect each terminal. Now you can go ahead and install all of the standing resistors. Make sure you print out the layout graphic file from Erica's site, so you can have it in front of you as a guide. I also like to measure and label all of the resistors beforehand. This is where you're most likely to make mistakes. Always triple check your work against the printed guide before soldering anything. In order to solder all of these resistors, I used the novel technique where I placed the control PCB on top of the main one so I could turn it around without dropping any of the resistors. I then secured the boards in place with my Helping Hands alligator clips and proceeded to solder everything up. Alternatively, you can just bend the leads outward from the bottom of the board, as is usually done. Now install the ceramic capacitors, then the transistors, and finally the electrolytic capacitors, and the 3-terminal jumper header, which lets you configure the VCF CV pot as either an attenuverter or a simple attenuator. And board 1 is done. The control board has no standing resistors, so we can use my usual technique of installing all of the resistors, diodes and ferrite beads at once and soldering them from above. You can then turn the board around and clip the leads, inspecting the joints and touching them up as needed. Continue with the IC sockets, followed by the capacitors, fuses, the transistors, the trim pots, the electrolytic capacitors, and the headers. As you can see, I made a mistake with the electrolytics in the back of the board. They should lay flat against the board, making it easy to install the power header and getting them out of the way when attaching both boards together. For the board connection headers, as usual, I attached the males to the females and placed them on both boards before soldering them in place, ensuring that they would line up correctly. Now you can go ahead and place but not solder the jacks, pots, switches, and LEDs. The dual pots are especially tricky. It may help to straighten out the position lugs with a pair of pliers. Don't forget to install the spacer too. Once all of the panel components are placed, slip on the panel and finger tighten all of the nuts. Push the LEDs so they go through their holes, then go ahead and solder everything up. Add the knobs, check the power headers for shorts, and you're ready to plug it in, tune it up, and make some fat bass lines. You don't need to do anything to the trim pots, except the tuning one that goes through the panel. Follow the easy instructions in the manual to tune your module. Now let me take you through a little tour of the completed bassline. Cool, alright, so let's check out the Erica Synths Bassline module. A complete synth voice that you can use for some really heavy sounding bass for techno or whatever, really. So let's just get acquainted with some of its basic functions and what it includes. First, it's got two envelope generators with only decay controls. There's no sustain, so they're definitely more for rhythmic things, but if you wanted to have sustain, you can open up the VCA and use an external VCA. The way you do that is just turn up the VCA envelope all the way, and LED lights up and you get steady sound out of it, like a normal oscillator. But this is not a normal oscillator though. For starters, you have the waveform selection, so this is the triangle. There's also a saw wave and a square wave, right? Let's open up the filter, bring down the resonance so you can really hear those. There you go. Now, you also get a sub oscillator. It's a square wave sub oscillator. You can mix that with the regular square wave, with the saw, or with the triangle. Now the filter sounds super nice. Check it out. Some resonance. Sounds really interesting. And you can make it go kind of crazy too. With the resonance high, it distorts in the lower frequencies. And resonance all the way. Get this crazy response, not very linear, but certainly very cool. Now apart from all of that, let's get to the square wave, bring up the sub, and you have a drive pot right here which distorts the sound. And in combination with the filter resonance, you get some really harsh, cutting, acidic type sounds. Of course, you don't have to have the drive all the way. You can be more subtle with it and really dial in the sound you want. Between the waveform switch, the sub-level, the filter and resonance, and the drive circuit, you have a lot of flexibility to find a bass tone that you like, right? So now let's see it in action in a sequence. As soon as you bring that VCA envelope pot a little bit down, automatically it engages. So now no sound comes out until you send the module a gate. So let's send the module a gate from my BeatStep Pro right here. And there you go. And we'll also send it CV, right? Pitch CV. That's the 1 volt per octave input right there. And this is a SEM based oscillator and it's very stable, very easy to calibrate. In fact, you have the little trim pot for tuning available on the panel, so you don't have to remove the module if you need to tune it. You can just use a little screwdriver on this trim pot right there and tune the module. If you want to use this as just a straight up normal oscillator, you have your triangle and your square outputs available right on the main panel. Now we can set the internal envelopes. So you can have it like This is the VCA envelope. You can have it real snappy, short, right? Or you can have it kind of long. And let's turn off the drive for now. Let's use the square wave with a good bit of sub. There you go. Some nice bass sounds, a little bit of reverb. There you go, a little reverb. It also has an external VCF input, and there's a little pot for that, for the cutoff CV. Here we go. Let's try the multi-waves here as an LFO into the voltage control filter CV. There you go. This LFO right here gets summed. The pot works even if you have nothing plugged in. Basically, it's an attenuator for the internal envelope generator. So you can make it respond to less amplitude from the envelope generator. Just go to the saw wave for now. Up an octave. A little bit of drive. Cool. Back to no drive. Now, one other thing it has is an accent input right here. So if we do a sequence, let's do a quick sequence here. So I'm just going to turn on every step, turn some knobs. There we go. Now I'll turn my BeatStep Pro into the drum sequencer, and I'll take one of the trigger outs, maybe number 4 here, into the accent input, and now I can program some accent. So now you see the accent makes that filter open up even more. And makes the VCA louder too. In fact, you can use it to sort of add sustain, right? Because when you send a high gate to that accent input right there, you start to hear a constant sound. It's not as loud as the VCA full open, but still it can be used that way. Got some resonance, a little bit of drive. Pretty badass, pretty acidic, if you ask me. It's got that resonance high and drive high. out the accent. Send the LFO back to the filter. Pretty funky if you ask me. No sub. Sub back. No drive. Low resonance. A little bit more filter envelope. Here's a short filter envelope for some snappy percussive action. Badass. Cool. So let's do a beat now. I'll quickly patch up a couple of drum voices here. There we go. So now let's program a beat. There you go. There's a beat in there already. Pretty gnarly, huh? Last thing, before I forget to mention it, you also have FM input. Let's send this FM, audio rate FM from another oscillator. Cool. Use your FM level right here. Okay. Cool. And that's it. This is an amazing module. It's super fun, useful, and it sounds amazing. I'm really happy with it, and I've been using it a lot since I got it. So go get it, build it, and have fun with it. Super, super, super fat, funky bass line from Erica Synths. See you later and stay noisy.